Okay, so I am really lucky to have with me Taya, who is a mum of two children, and she also has her own blog, and so she thought, and so I know it's hard; it's a little bit of a tongue twister, and she is all about representing women and also sharing women with their stories about mindset, positivity, self-love, and motherhood, and sharing all those stories with us. So welcome, Taya.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's great. I'm so glad that you can be part of this and actually be able to share your story. So can you tell us one of the struggles that you've had as a mum yourself?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is trying to be all things to all people and just dealing with that mum guilt when you can't do that because no one can do that. So you start with one child, and suddenly, if you're giving them everything, you're neglecting your husband and you're definitely neglecting yourself. You add another child into the mix, and it's like you can't give the new child what you gave the first child. The first child is suddenly not getting the attention they did before the other one arrived. And then it's this vicious cycle of just never feeling enough or feeling like somebody's always missing out on something. So yeah, I think that's one that we've just got to ease up and just realize that we can't be everything for all people. It's just not realistic.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I hear a lot from mums. And generally, would you find then it's you is the one at the moment that's probably missing
Oh
out
gosh,
of all of
yes.
it? And then your husband second?
Yeah, probably.
And so what do you have a strategy around that you've used over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think it's just finding, like, prioritizing self-care. And I know it's starting to sound cliche of the whole you can't fill from an empty cup, but it's so true. So self-care isn't selfish, it's a necessity because you can't give anyone anything if you're completely depleting yourself. And you know what? Once you actually give yourself that self-care, you can do everything else more efficiently anyway. So you're actually giving more by giving yourself something first.
Definitely, isn't it? It's that, once you know that you're happy and you're fulfilled, then
Mhm.
definitely you're able to give that energy back to everybody else. So
Definitely.
yeah, it's recognizing that, isn't it, over
Mhm.
time, what happens and how you feel. I've seen even your Insta stories when there's been you and your husband and how you felt after you've both been out and spent that time together.
Oh gosh, we actually had that on the weekend. My mum's been down, so we had a date night last night and went out for Thai and went to the movies, and it was just nice to just feel like us again, not
Yeah.
just mum and dad.
Yeah, and you're so much more fun the next day to be around, aren't you?
Yeah. You like each other again.
And the kids notice it. They
Yeah.
definitely say, "Oh, you're so much happier today." Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they feed off your energy.
Don't they? Don't they? So, what would you say then is your top tip for women to embrace their strengths so that they feel more confident and also just to love themselves?
Yeah, definitely. I'm very much a believer in treating yourself the way that you'd want your kids to treat themselves. So when you're in a situation where you are starting to be hard on yourself, just take yourself out of the equation and be like, okay, if my son or daughter was in this situation, how would I want them to respond? And I feel like that really allows you to be kinder to yourself. And that's a really simple way of just getting your own ego out of the way and doing what you need, not what, getting stuck in those cycles of punishing yourself.
Mm, definitely, because it is, isn't it? Women then have that guilt later and,
Hmm.
yeah, just not kind to themselves. That whole negative self-talk
Hmm.
is what you hear a lot of mums saying they find after they've maybe yelled at their kids and,
Yeah.
yeah, instead of just taking the step back and, yeah, having that self-compassion.
Yeah, totally. And when you have those moments, my other tip, I would say, bonus tip, is to, instead of getting sucked up in that guilt, that's going to steal your energy.
Mm.
So go, okay, that wasn't how I wanted to react in that situation, but I have. So going forward, I'm going to channel my energy into being who I want to be, not let it get sucked into that moment even further and continue to not be the mum you want to be or the woman or the wife that you want to be.
Yeah, yeah. So then getting swept up in those stories, isn't it?
Yeah.
Otherwise. So what about for you? What's your 2 non-negotiables you have for yourself each
Yeah,
week or daily?
I'm a work in progress, like we all are. So I don't necessarily have a set 2 that I do every day. There are things that I want to have set 2s, like making sure drink enough water and have my vitamins, but I'm getting there on those. Mine more so is I've written a list of 20 things that make me happy, and I commit to doing at least 2 of those things every day to own bringing happiness into my world.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah, it's not necessarily the same 2 things, but I just make sure I do 2 things that do make my world more enjoyable.
So are those things like involving your kids as well as, or more about yourself, or a bit of both?
The combination.
Yeah.
Some of them are with my kids, like, actually doing something I enjoy doing with my kids rather than just taking them where I feel like I should. Some of them are really simple, like drinking a cup of tea while it's still warm. Some of them are things about doing some exercise. Some are just listening to a podcast, which I can do while I'm with my kids or while I'm cleaning the house, just bringing something I enjoy back into my world.
Yeah, I love that, isn't it? And also the bit you said about taking your kids and doing something that you enjoy rather than necessarily something they would love you to do.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what would be your other, have you got anything else that you do like to do for yourself?
Some more of my 20, reading.
Yeah.
And reading, that was a hard one for me to get back into. I'm not going to lie. I loved reading. When I had kids, I found that it took me years to start reading again, just because I really struggled to find some brain capacity at the end of the day, and television was just an easier option. But now I'm just making space to read. I'm just letting whatever books I'm getting drawn to come into my world, and I'm just making space for that. And if you can't make space for that yet, audiobooks are a great option of allowing that balance.
Yeah.
So that's another big one for me. Things like exercise, heading to the beach, even just diffusing some essential oils that make me happy can be really simple. I think we get swept up in the idea that self-care has to be a massage, a facial, something really intensive and expensive. In reality, it can be tiny things.
Yeah, no, and I love your tea one, the drinking your tea before it's cold.
Yeah.
What about your writing then?
My writing is definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love, having some space to write, and just, I don't force it. So if it's not coming to me, that's okay as well. But yeah, I just give myself the space. If I have thoughts that are just filling my mind up, I just let them onto paper, and that's really cathartic for me. I love doing it.
So what would you then, so tell us a bit more about your blog then.
So my blog just came out of a space, I guess, of there are so many things we go through as women that we're just told not to talk about. So like miscarriage being one of them, that was one of the biggest things that has impacted my life. It's one of those things that it's so common, like 1 in 4 pregnancies resulting in miscarriage, yet no one talks about them. And we're getting better at it now, but there's no point in us suffering in isolation, when if we start having these conversations, we can start healing ourselves. And it doesn't take away how hard something like that is. It just takes away the isolation, to know that other people have been through it, to know that other people have felt the way that you feel. So I think it's really important to start having conversations about women's issues, and not just keeping quiet about them, because keeping quiet about them is not good for our mental health, and it just isolates us from one another instead of bringing us together.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's what I loved about all of your blogs that I've read, is just that sense of, you're not the only one. There's a lot of other people out there. And I think even just having social media, like we probably never would have met otherwise. Because of social media and the way it works and attracts other people. So I think, we're really lucky to have the world we live in, to be able to not feel so isolated to maybe like 15 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. And I think social media is one of those things where it can get a really bad rap sometimes. So Instagram, for example, the amount of times I've heard about how shallow it is and how bad it is for our mental health, when I found the exact opposite. So I think we need to be conscious of owning the social world we create. So if you're following accounts that leave you feeling bad about yourself, you need to unfollow those, or you need to think about why they're making you feel bad about yourself. So I'm really attracted to accounts that inspire my thoughts. And I've made so many connections with people on a much deeper level than I would if I was just hanging out with other school mums or, wherever. I'm going straight to having some pretty life-changing conversations, and I love that. So own your social media, find accounts that really speak to you, and they won't make you feel crappy about yourself. They'll actually make you feel more aligned to who you are.
Yeah, definitely. So share your Insta handle, because people can definitely follow you, because they're not going to be feeling that. They're going to be feeling inspired.
Thank you.
As all the people I think that you connect with, and I love that on your Insta story, how you can then start following other people who are inspiring and leave you feeling great about yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So you can find me at And So She Thought. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is probably more where I hang out. And I haven't done one for a while, but I do like to share women who inspire me. So if you look at the hashtag And So She Shines, you'll find some of the women who, if you're wanting to fill your account up with positive, inspiring women, that's a good place to start. Check them out. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for your time, Taya. It's great to chat to you and to share you now with the other mums in the Simply Happy Mums group. So thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to chatting again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.